Welcome to the 5th episode of the Animal Riot podcast, brought to you by Animal Riot Press, a literary press for books that matter. It's your producer, Katie, here, and this episode has been edited to reflect our new name. If you're new to the Animal Riot community, welcome, and you can find out more about us at animalriotpress.com. Now on to the episode with your host, Brian Birnbaum, and today's guests, Drew Wilkerson, Myriah Harrison, Marcus Fisher, Sam Cooper, and the one and only Gangie.
We're still down here in Little Rock, Arkansas, and because of that, we'll be doing something a little different this episode. Little Rock is special to us. It's where our producers, Katie Rainey, who unbelievably is just one person, hail from. Along with her brother Roy and her sister Lizzie, whom you met last episode, Katie was exposed to art throughout her childhood here in Little Rock. But come time to start her career, Little Rock's limitations instilled in her a desire to take her talents to New York. How many cities watch their brightest stars gravitate toward the naked singularity that is New York, that cosmic force of mass and mystery? From this experience, and the experience of countless others that Katie has encountered across her young career, was born a mission: to uplift the arts and arts communities in cities like Little Rock's, and all the smaller cities and towns where artists can start to feel stuck, yet scared of that cosmic mass to the northeast. Lucky for Katie, that's part of our goal here, not only to uplift writers and their communities, but also to remember why we fell in love with literature in the first place. So, this episode features 5 artists spread over 3 different locations here in Little Rock. Each plies their own craft, each with their own story of what brought them or keeps them here. Yet what braises them all are their strong views on Little Rock's art and literature scene, particularly what it needs to grow and thrive. Right now we're here with none other than Gangie, Katie's grandmother, who most shaped, well, Katie, I guess. What did she most shape about you? Everything?
My face.
Your face. 25% of your face.
Oh, that's right. This woman shaped, I mean, she's the reason I write. When I was 6, she gave me my first journal, and I have been writing in journals ever since, and now have a giant trunk full of lovely intellectual writings, I'm sure.
Well, I think it culminated in the entry in which you wrote the world is like a cigarette.
Yeah, Gangie. I gave him my high school journal, and he flipped open to one of them. Or I gave him one of my high school journals, because there's many, and he flipped open, and the first thing he saw was the world is like a cigarette, and so he.
What did this lead to?
Yeah, well, I'm actually not sure yet what it means.
You didn't finish the entry?
I did, but I don't think I remember.
I don't remember.
I think you just left it like that and you just moved on. And it was like, we're supposed to understand that.
Clearly, I was just brilliant. So since I'm actually on this podcast, I think this is my first time on the actual podcast. Gangie, normally I produce it from behind the scenes, but
finally the women outnumber the men. I think this is the first time.
That's good, as it should be.
Yeah,
I am the Wizard of Oz come out from behind the curtain right now.
Yeah, that's also true.
So, mysterious Gangie lady, what is your real name?
My whole name is Suzanne, Suzzane.
Get it wrong and she'll beat you.
Middle initial T, which stands for Terensky. Last name Watts, Watts.
In case you didn't catch it, Suzanne T. Watts, nom de guerre Gangie, is Katie's grandmother. Gangie serves as her granddaughter's muse, the doyen after which she models her artistic endeavors. But back in the day, Gangie was a talented dancer in her own right, and she's still a fervent visual artist. She's danced all over, with companies as prestigious as Jacob's Pillow, the Metropolitan Opera, and dancers like Maria Tall Chief, Madame Krask, and her beloved mentor, June Runyon.
I didn't start dancing until I was a sophomore in high school. And
Isn't that incredible?
That's very late, yeah.
I loved it so much.
And how'd you find out about it?
A girl that was a year ahead of me in class at Holy Family High School, where I went to high school. She took ballet just because she wanted the pretty pink toe shoes and everything. She was as cute as the cutest little girl you've ever seen, but couldn't dance.
But not a very good dancer. You should see Gangie's feet. If you see her feet, then you know why she's a dancer.
What, are they all gnarled up or something? Or what?
No, she's got an arch that's like, okay, see my foot? That's pretty flat. This is why. I danced for a while, and Gangie wanted me to dance, but I was just never going to be a dancer. But Gangie's feet are like this. She could practically bend them in half.
The front of my foot and the back of my foot, when I walk in the sand, it's two completely different
spots. It doesn't look like a
they don't connect.
There's two indentations.
Yeah.
We also spoke to Myriah Harrison and Drew Wilkerson, two of Katie's close friends since high school and both active members of Little Rock's arts and culture scene. Right now, we're here with Myriah and Drew. Drew, who I met like 2 days ago when I was barely conscious.
Yeah.
Because I had gotten way too fucked up the night before.
You did pretty good, though.
Yeah. I guess. I made it to 9:15. But you guys introduce yourself, and then you can comment on my ability to withstand marijuana overdoses. Okay.
Yeah, it's a real thing.
Myriah Harrison is an anthropologist, crafter/creator, and camel whisperer. She graduated with a BA in anthropology and a minor in Middle Eastern studies from the University of Arkansas at Little Rock in the fall of 2016. In addition to her excavation trips to Oman and her ability to paint and craft weird works of art, she also has the cutest pup this side of the Mississippi, River Song. So, Myriah,
Yeah,
you do archaeology.
I do.
Is that your art form?
It's a passion. I do other types of art form. I paint, I craft, I make baskets. I don't know. Whenever I get stressed out mostly and annoyed with people, I start
So all the
painting.
time.
So like a
All
lot.
the time.
I
You
put
got
a
that
lot of
Gangie
my
style.
Yeah, a lot of yeah.
Drew, on the other hand, is a local bartender and musician who has played in a ton of bands around the city. Drew is currently in a band that's touring around the state.
I am. I'm in a band called Listen Sister. We are working on finishing our second album, and we have a habit of it taking like a year and a half to finish an album.
Rounding out this episode's triumvirate of conversations are Sam Cooper and Marcus Fisher. Though Sam is technically Katie's cousin, the two were raised practically as siblings and act like it too. Marcus is a local tattoo artist, musician, painter, and transplant from our home base, New York City. Sam and Marcus are roommates in a house perhaps 50 paces from Gangie's. Welcome.
Yeah.
You guys want to
So Marcus Fisher is sitting to my left, and
let's
my
do
name
that.
is Sam Cooper.
You introduce Marcus, and then Marcus, you introduce Sam.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do that.
Marcus Fisher, everybody. Yeah. Marcus Fisher.
Yeah.
Everyone, we're applauding.
Cheers. Cheers.
Say
Cheers.
There we go. Cheers indeed.
Okay,
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers again.
Though we're cutting these 3 sessions into a single collage of an episode, our producers didn't feel that this excused me from offering and participating in a unique challenge during each session. Well, okay, so I'll talk about the challenge, which is very simple right now. We call it the hour's brand of fuckery is what we call our challenges. And it's brought to you by eggnog, which I don't think I've ever had until I came here. I'm pretty sure.
It's good stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great. So the challenge is to ingest all of this eggnog that we have before us without getting too inebriated for Christmas Eve company. That's it.
And tell them what the brand is, isn't it?
It's Pennsylvania Dutch.
Pennsylvania
Great.
Dutch.
Yeah, let's plug it. Now we'll demand monies from them.
Yeah.
You know, our challenge could be how many times we say absolutely.
Absolutely.
Because me and Drew say it a lot.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I say it all the time. Let's take a drink,
Abso-fucking-lutely.
guys. Absolutely. We call the challenges like this hour's brand of fuckery.
Okay.
So this hour's brand of fuckery is brought to you by Christmas wine. And the challenge is for me and Marcus and I, to finish a glass of wine every 10 minutes. So we have 7 minutes until the next one. So keep up.
And
for Sam to be a bitch and try and keep up.
Shit! I gotta cook tonight. So if dinner's gonna get done.
To be fair, Sam was quite toasted last night.
Yes,
hand off the
indeed.
bone.
He's
Yes,
got all
I
night to make up
was.
for it.
As it turns out, this episode's 3 challenges paled in comparison to what I now realize is an insidious misnomer: Southern hospitality. Cut off those last 3 letters and the phrase better aligns with what I needed the morning after our first visit with Sam and Marcus earlier this week. Should we talk about what you did to me the other night? Like right now? Like right now, right away? Okay,
and I warned you. It was I should have known better. And
so basically, let me give some precedent. I was at Katie's Aunt Julie's, and we were Sam's mother, right? I should note that.
Yeah.
Without Sam, I was at your mom's house, dude.
Yeah.
All right, anyways, and we were, we were just smoking cigarettes and getting hammered, and Daryl was coming out with his vape, and we were smoking bowls on the deck and whatever. And so and then we go over to yours afterwards, and we're drinking
pretty
more.
Well, about I guess where
I'm
I was
already
last night.
I'm already slipping in terms of memories being formed at that point, and I
was like, hey, I've got these lovely treats,
And everyone else said no, but I, of course, which makes me say yes.
And I was like, hey, would you like one of these,
non-drug filled treats,
can of treats?
Basically, I had too much sugar.
Yeah,
I blacked out for about 12 hours.
I was like, well, you might want to eat half of it, trying to rationalize with a very rational Brian at that point. And he said, fuck it, I'm going to eat it all right now. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's the quote.
As I do.
Yes.
So I do take partial blame for
No, I don't think you should.
But if you're having a good time, man, you got to dive in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whole damn thing.
But anyways, I just wanted that on record because that was probably the most lasting memory / non-memory I'll have of Arkansas.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a good memory to take home.
I woke up with my world absolutely changed for good. All right, but anyways.
Were you feeling okay the next day?
No, definitely not. Definitely not. I had to oh my God.
Did you get any sleep?
I got too much sleep.
12 hours.
12, 13 hours or something. It was like I hadn't slept. It was like I just walked into a fugue state and came back, Like I was naked at a grocery store for like 12 hours and just walked back. Despite the existential crisis brought on by well-meaning Southerners and their sadistic hosting methods that runneth your cup over, I had a fucking blast. Little Rock is full of life and laughter and people who just want to connect and share their stories. Far from a podunk town 10 galaxies over, we're beginning to realize that Little Rock is ideal precisely because it's still largely malleable, providing a unique opportunity to draw from untapped resources and create a supportive artistic community.
So, Gangie, we really wanted you to be on this podcast because, well, one, I wouldn't be a writer if it weren't for you. And you're also an artist yourself. And so I think we want to talk a lot about that because some things you don't know about our press, I think, is that we're trying to start kind of an artist salon down here.
Oh, great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so those are some things we are hoping to do. And so in order to galvanize that community, we're just talking to people and learning things and building on that community. I don't know anything else I'm missing, Brian.
That's great. How would that work?
Katie's the ringleader of all this.
Oh, she is? Okay.
Well, we're actually doing a podcast later this evening. It's a double header on Christmas Eve here with 2 people, with Myriah. You know Myriah Harrison, my best friend, and another friend of ours, Drew Wilkerson, who is a musician here, and they want to help really start this salon here. So it would be, we run our reading series up in New York. And so it would be a lot like the reading series, except for not just for writers and readers, but it would be for all artists to come share their artwork.
Oh,
and
that's cool. I
build
like
community.
that.
Yeah.
I like that.
It could be anything, really.
Yeah.
I really like that.
Yeah.
Well, and then it doesn't matter, really. Artists feed off of each other. If I meet a trombonist or a pianist or whatever, somehow it's just a more exciting conversation than the accountants and etc.
Yeah.
Nothing against accountants, but
no, but that's why. I think that's why we wanted you on here, and that's why we want to do this. As a writer, I get tons of inspiration from other art forms. Brian also raps. Did you know that about him, Gangie?
I'm retired. I would say I'm retired. Yeah.
Okay.
I retired in my prime.
I see.
Yeah.
We'll have to play.
I have a
something
few
for
fire
Gangie.
tracks though. I'll have to play them for her. When you went to New York, was it life-changing? Did it open your eyes to anything, or was it kind of
I didn't get to see that much of it.
Really?
No, because
was like military.
Yeah, you because see,
Up at dawn.
this is back in the day when young girls, especially young girls from the South, weren't allowed in the city by themselves hardly. So you had a chaperone, somebody staying with you at the hotel and everything.
But you snuck out sometimes.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, this is what I wanna hear
So
about.
so have you ever heard of the musical Smokey Joe's Cafe?
I think you mentioned it before to me, but
Gang.
is that a jazz club?
That was when I was studying at Jacob's Pillow. There was a little bar about 2 miles down this dirt road from us on kind of a little highway, I guess. We older kids, I was all of 17, I guess. But we would sneak out at night and go down to the Pines. That was it, the Pines. And a real nice older woman and her husband ran it. We got to be good friends with them, and so we would serve drinks for them, and they'd give us drinks.
Just get behind the bar.
No, we served them to the table.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah.
But they
yeah.
would give you drinks
Uh-huh.
too.
Yeah.
For payment.
I'll take a drink for bringing a drink. Yeah, sure. That sounds good.
Gangie wasn't a saint, is what you're saying. She was a rebel artist.
I did everything any other kid has ever done, I think.
To my continued amazement, I would come to discover that Gangie plays a starring role in the lives of countless Little Rockians, in both the arts community and beyond. Later in life, upon moving on from her dancing career, Gangie took up visual and mixed media arts. Is he the one that got you into theater when you were a kid?
I think Gangie really.
I
That was
think
you
I
too?
did. I think
Gangie kind of just anything to do with the arts. Gangie
Mm-hmm.
was in it, doing it, and encouraging me to do it. The only thing that I never could encourage her to really do is write, even though she's got some amazing stories. Been trying to get her to journal for years.
Well, I try to journal, but I get off the track.
Gangie, the world is like a cigarette. Okay, you
Are you
don't.
telling me I am off the track all the time anyway?
Well, speaking of that, I'd like to mention, just because Katie's wearing the Talking About Practice shirt right now
Yes,
that I got from
talking about
Devin.
practice, Gangie.
And so I had to show Gangie the other day the Allen
explain-
Iverson video.
Yeah, well, for somebody who doesn't know who that is, like I still don't really remember who that is.
Yeah. But that was I'll explain it. Okay.
Yeah.
Basically, Allen Iverson, he's getting questioned about why he wasn't at practice the other day. You know, this is back when he was playing around the turn of the century or something. He eventually just goes off on a rant and he just keeps repeating, "We're talking about practice, not the game I love, not the game I die for. We talking about practice." It's a great video. I wish we could link it on this podcast. But
We could probably play it in here. And you showed that to Gangie the other day. You remember that?
it was hilarious.
He had no time.
Gangie painted sets, worked on school plays, made costumes, and encouraged rabbles of children to immerse themselves in various artistic endeavors across the city. But more than that, she was always listening, always there for those who needed her, always offering support to those struggling. She took in many of Katie's and Sam's friends as if they were her own grandchildren, and fostered their love for art no matter what medium it was.
I feel like that if you can get a kid, an underprivileged kid, that's never been introduced printed word even, if you can get them to read anything, that really excites them that they can get into, I think it's the first step in cutting loose some kind of a genius.
Most of our podcast guests, I've come to realize, are somewhat hesitant at first, whether because of shyness or reasons more peculiar to the individual. But, due in part to our producer's unparalleled editing aplomb, we've never failed to get our guests to open up. And it's right around now that each guest begins to paint a flavorful picture of their small slice of Little Rock's art scene, which is precisely why we've come together. To understand what moves the people here, to understand which forms of art and expression moves them, to understand what they read and why, to understand what they want from their community and how they can help achieve it.
So, we're launching this press and we have this podcast. You're making a rabbit for us, right?
Yes.
Because you also make, I would say dancing was probably the first big chunk of your life, and eventually you moved into like visual art making and welding and building things.
And,
she's...
Oh, I love woodworking.
She gave me a Dremel tool for my 10th birthday. I loved it.
And,
I don't know what that is. let's just.
I'm gonna get him one.
Oh yeah,
He-
just for
Gangie.
for everyone else listening out there, I'm the northerner down here in Little Rock, so I couldn't even go out and rake
Gangie,
leaves.
he laughed one time I came here to visit you and we were cleaning up the yard and I was texting with Brian. I said, we're out back doing yard work, having some beers. And he was like, yard work? And he just died laughing. He thought that was the funniest thing. He's like, you actually do yard work? And I was like, yeah.
I thought we just had machines roving around everywhere that did everything for us, I guess we're not quite there yet. A side note, my Yankee anti-yard working ways are a running joke down here. But the joke is really on them because I didn't do any of it. So split your sides out, my southern friends, so long as I don't have to sacrifice my afternoon building piles of foliage or whatever it is people toil over in their yards.
Well, so we're doing this press and it's, I don't know if we've really had time to sit down with you and tell you why we want to launch it and why we want to do this press, but we're really, our tagline is books that matter. So we feel that, one, writers aren't really cared for a lot in the publishing industry, in the literary industry. It's become such a, I don't know.
I think they just pour all their money into the people that they know are going to make money. And so when that happens, you can't get new people that are going to start selling,
and it's mainly a war between the editors, isn't it? Everything I've always felt like the editors were trying to one-up one another rather than...
That's very true.
Rather than go...
Especially about 10 years ago, it kind of came to a head because they were starting to give these writers advances that were so huge. They didn't just need... There was no way they were going to make that much money back on a book, Yeah, they were just letting it get out of control, and so no one else is getting a piece of the pie. They can't publish other novels. It's only the ones they think are going to sell. And so, I think we're just trying to... Here we are. We can't
to get new and real writers.
Yes,
and
exactly.
innovative literature and things that are. So a lot of the literature we see, we feel caters to like the same whatever trend, and then it falls off, and no one cares about the book, and people aren't actually creating. There are writers out there who are creating meaningful art, and that's kind of why we want to start this press, is because we want to find them and we want to build more community.
I think that'd just be great.
We're tired of just like online communities of writers. We want in-person, book readings and sharing, and to just cultivate more of an energy around that and around maybe a little bit more difficult literature too.
Stuff that people can read. It's just that the industry is kind of telling them that they can't.
Yeah.
Like one of our good friends, Sergio de la Pava. Him and his wife are just amazing. He wrote a book that was like this thick. It was called A Naked Singularity.
Incredible book.
And one of my favorite books ever. And his new one's amazing too. And he couldn't get it published anywhere. He sent it to 90, 100 agents, whatever. 3 years. He finally just put it away, and then his wife self-publishes it for him, and I guess publicizes it. I've never really gotten the full story on that, actually. I would love to talk to her about it sometime. And then it sells a lot, like 30,000 copies, something like that. And then now he's getting published with a big press just because he's proven it. But that book's not easy. It's not easy to read. Especially for people that don't read that much.
But no one would take a chance on it. And so his wife just said, "Screw the industry. I'm going to do it myself." And she did. And then it got picked up by a press because she actually did the legwork. And we were like, you know what? It shouldn't have to be like that. Because there's a whole lot that in publishers, they'll just put out a book and they don't support you on the book tours, like micro stuff, like little things to promote. You don't realize how much promotion really needs to go into a press. And so these are all things that we're really trying to create a more, I kept saying holistic in the beginning, but that sounds so granola crunchy, just like a more supportive press and community.
Yeah.
How much interaction other than me have you had with writers throughout your life?
Probably none. Let's see. No, I don't think I've ever had any interaction with a writer before. I always loved writing.
Well, you're a big reader.
I was until my eyes went south.
Yeah, but we have discovered that the large print does help you a lot.
Oh, yeah,
right?
it does. It really does.
Yeah, so that has to change. Yeah, we'll have to make our books available in large print for sure for Gangie.
We're also going to do audiobooks too. I don't know if you've...
There's something about the printed page
It's a lot.
that has more romance to it. It's just
I agree.
more. It's just like reading a book on an iPad. I don't want to do that.
I know.
I don't either. I don't
I
like
want
doing
to feel the cover.
that. Yeah, same.
Well, what do you like to read?
Actually, for my fun reading, my thing I enjoy probably the most is courtroom drama.
John Grisham.
Yeah, John Grisham was good, but and I wish I could remember the names now. But Patterson is one.
Oh,
James
God,
Patterson.
Gangie. We're gonna
yeah.
Gangie. Don't no. You're my idol.
No, this is great. This is now we're gonna get like those McSweeney's
Oh God.
pieces coming in. You know, McSweeney's does these pieces like making fun of like all the commercial writers and stuff. It's pretty
Well, she
funny.
redeems herself because she likes my writing too.
Yeah,
so.
there you go. Yeah, perfect. You just got to start sending her more stuff. You know?
Well, and I like that one writer that writes about this brilliant detective who,
Perot?
no, he became injured somehow. He's a quadriplegic, and he's bedfast, and he just lives in a room with his caretaker. His specialty was he knew different varieties of dirt and sand and gravel and stuff like that. So he
Okay,
could...
the Bone Collector's coming up. Is that it?
Wait. That may be Bone Collector.
It looks like it was made into a movie.
The Bone Collector was that not Anthony Hopkins or maybe Denzel Washington?
It was Denzel Washington.
Denzel Washington.
Yeah, but who wrote it?
John Deaver? I guess that's Beaver with a D.
Deaver. Yeah, that's him.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
he really writes stuff that you can just really get your teeth into.
Well, okay, so I have a question about that because, you know, we joke that we read more snobby literary fiction. So what do you think about that? And what do you think about literary fiction? Like, what is it? What is its place in the world?
Oh, okay. Well, Katie, of course, I'm a little bit prejudiced. My granddaughter does quite an excellent job. I just don't. I think a good writer is a good writer, whether he's writing
I like that, Ian.
whatever or literary treatises or just a good writer can just get a hold of you and hold you there, hold you in that book. One of my very favorite books, I'm sure you've probably never heard of it, Secret of Santa Vittoria. It's a little town in Italy.
It sounds like an erotica novel.
No, it's a teeny little town on a mountainside in Italy that produces the most marvelous grapes, the best wine in the world. And the Germans they come take over the town, they try to get the wine, and it's the townspeople hiding this wine from the Germans and how they managed to do it and everything. But it is written, it's just written where you get chills up your spine. And it's one of those books that when you're nearing the end of the book, you start reading more slowly because you don't want it to end.
I know that feeling. Yeah. Was that written by an American or?
Yes.
An
and
Italian,
just
maybe?
one minute and I'll remember his name.
You
But anyway.
also read The Mothers recently. You liked that one?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you read
that.
The Mothers, yeah.
Yeah, she loved it.
Yeah, I
she
loved
finished
that.
it in like 24 hours or something.
That's sort of literary.
That's pretty literary
it's
fiction.
literary.
Yeah,
I'd say
I
that's
would say
literary.
so.
Yeah. It's got a commercial appeal to it, but I'd say that's literary fiction.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say those are some of the most successful literary books. Like
Yeah,
that
right.
Of today.
Yeah. I could listen to Gangie talk all the livelong day about her favorite books, about the weird artists she knows, about anything that lets my ears luxuriate in her smooth rasp like stippled silk. And don't worry, we'll come back to her yet. But for now, we're going to take inventory of the resources to which Little Rock artists have access. What people may not know is that Little Rock was actually a huge haven for the underground music scene back in the 90s.
Hey, Drew,
They
what
come in
would you
twos.
say our Little Rock music scene's like?
I can only talk about like this area, maybe some Argenta stuff that goes on, but
Is there like a
What's
turf
Argenta
war
stuff?
going on?
Argenta is the North Little Rock. See, there's
I know some of the house
a
shows
line
that
between
DIY
Little
them.
Rock and North Little Rock.
The line is a river.
Secretly hate each other,
I don't.
but no.
I hate Sherwood a lot.
Yeah, I can get that.
Like their
I like-
music or their people?
Oh no, they don't. We don't have representations like that. I wish we did. I wish we had turf war and everybody was walking around snapping their fingers. That'd be super great. No, Sherwood just sucks. West Little Rock just sucks. I talk to musicians we know plenty of musicians
God, everybody
here.
we've known has been in a band at some point, I feel like.
That's true, and we have some.
or like represented a band. I know I tried to be management for like a while, but it was mostly a
You
joke.
did? You tried to manage a band?
Well, it was mostly a
It's-
joke to get me into the shows without paying.
Oh, I
That
see.
is
so
the
it was
number one
yeah, it
part
was
of
just
being a bar
joke.
man or being a band manager is just like, hey, I just don't want to have to pay, and I want to feel a little bit more important than the rest of the people just watching. That is really how it goes, and I 100% support it. If you'll just do a little bit of the.
I mean, I
hey, you go
promoted
talk, you gotta
them
go.
constantly.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's absolutely. That's your job. That's
That's
what
what
you do.
I had to do. And I got in for free.
Yeah.
Also
absolutely.
slightly underage because I either worked the video camera or some other lie. Because we all started this at a young age.
Yeah.
We have a local pizza place nearby called Vino's, which basically has been the hub of most bands here for a very long time.
Dino's used to be.
I saw Flogging Molly there.
So so people
Pulley,
are-
Voodoo Head, like
People are eating
Smashing
pizza.
Pumpkins used to come. It's just like
you
a,
have not been to Vino's, I don't
No,
believe.
no.
Oh, you should. before
Vino's
you
is really
leave.
good.
It's good.
Huh.
real
Venus
good.
is arguably like the best pizza in Little Rock. I say,
And the Smashing Pumpkins played at a pizza place?
yeah,
Is that
like
what you're
back in
saying
the
to me?
'90s, like Blink or not Blink 182, Green Day. Like they used to be
Yeah.
like the big place
That is nuts.
for underground. Like
It was
I'd say
underground,
underground.
yeah.
I feel like there was way more music in the '90s that was underground than there is today.
My very first musical concert ever was when I was 11, and I went to Vino's to see my older brother play in Firehouse.
The
Was that
band
his
was
band?
Firehouse.
Something like that, like, fire burning.
I feel like
something.
The roof was on fire. That's all.
Yeah, the roof was on fire.
We didn't need any water.
None.
None.
Don't
at
put
all.
it out.
that's also another Nelly music video, Hot in Here. You guys
It was
wouldn't know. You guys are too
a little
young.
trauma.
Grow
Please.
up. Anyway, but yeah, I feel like the underground is because back in the day the underground was like, okay, you're not signed. Now it's like you just no one knows you. You know, that's
Yeah.
that's what the underground is now. You're just touring in your
We have a
city or
small-
something like that. You know,
that's the like,
because you can just put your shit on Spotify now or
We have a
YouTube and like whatever.
small bit
you know?
of hip hop here, too, that blew up.
The Smashing Pumpkins playing at a pizza place here in Little Rock is tantamount to the Chili Peppers playing their pre-Californication comeback show at the 930 Club in D.C. Only way cooler because it's a fucking pizza place. To a basshead like me, I was fascinated by much of what Drew had to say about the local music scene and its history. And again, while I could also listen to Drew wax cynical on the lack of music wars here in Little Rock all the livelong day, and while we do aim to create a community that includes all walks of artists, our true love does lie with literature. So, apropos of our conversation about the changes in underground music, I asked about Little Rock's writing scene, what that looks like, and which writing communities have managed to prosper despite seeing big talent gravitate to the big cities. So, guys, I was just wondering, is there an underground Little Rock writing scene?
yes. I would say yes. There are people in Little Rock who write. There are
And aren't known.
and aren't known.
Yeah, I would wager there are.
I don't know if there are people who write in Little Rock who are known. We're not really known. We're like Little Rock, Arkansas is not really known for its like literary prowess. But also, we have really good writers here.
We really do.
So it should be.
There's not a connectivity to
The arteries
that, like,
of like publishing and stuff like that.
Well, I feel like a lot of things also go through the universities nearby. Like, they're really good at, like, doing things.
I see.
Because I feel like the last time I went to a reading was at Vino's, actually. And
So they do
but that was
exist.
like
That's
3
good.
or 4 years ago.
That's good. Oh, that was a while though.
yeah.
We have stuff. I've been to some where they're packed, and I've been to some where like I'm one of 5 people there.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
what. There's not.
There's not enough promotion.
I can
for
also see
finding people who are willing to do it.
Yeah.
Because people say they're going to do something, and then like you have to kind of go, well, are they really gonna? Mm-hmm. You know,
I can also see that if most stuff goes through the schools, like I think
because
'cause
the school
right-
has its own literary magazine and all this other
yeah,
stuff.
and writing
they
in
have
New
its
York
own
is
groups.
not.
It's only looked at by certain people.
Yeah,
though.
I
That's-
never got a copy, honestly, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, like that's,
I knew it existed, but I never had a copy.
It's like oh, you like to do this, and this is with like every form of art, really. Probably everywhere. There's, oh, you like to do this, where you're going to have to play by these certain rules in order for you to be able to do this. And a lot of people just don't, they just quit. They
Yeah.
go to their job where
That's
they get paid.
true.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's
or they've got family or kids or something like that.
Yeah, and that's
Because there's these two women that I know very close who are phenomenal writers, and one of them just wrote a book, but they're mothers. They're single mothers. And so it's kind of hard to get them to come out and do something. So they do most of their stuff through social media.
Yeah.
Just because it's easier. So if they want like a copy or something, message me, I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
Rather than going out somewhere.
It's pretty much exactly what you said, and I mean, like stories like that. What you said, Myriah. I mean, it's just so hard to sit there and write in a room by yourself for years and get nothing in return, and then you got to make money, and some people just quit, or you wallow, and that can be just as depressing, or whatever. And honestly, we have a lot of ideas. I mean, even going so far as like commissioning writers or something like that, but we're not there yet because we don't know if we're that rich.
We're definitely not there in Little Rock yet. I completely support that.
But basically, like, we're already talking to writers that we like a lot and saying, if you can finish this, we'd love to publish it, And I mean, if I had an outlet like that when I started my novel, it would have been a lot easier for me, you know? So I mean, I think in Little Rock being removed, I was, when you were talking about people going through the school, sometimes I feel like that's the sign where things are kind of tough, because you have to go through academia, where like writing is like fun. It's great to have a literary journal at a school, but in New York, it's like we have all this shit going on that's totally removed from any institution. It's
That's
just
probably all we have. I can't think of any literary.
We have, like at Vino's, sometimes at Whitewater, very rarely at PCB
Very
Action.
rarely.
They like there are people that do it, but there's not a way. There's not a revenue stream for the people that are orchestrating it to consistently do it. Like, we are a very corporately run, corporately controlled state as a whole. We have a very small number of people who control almost everything, and so being an independent person and not having money, it's very easy and happens all the time to just quit the stuff you love just to do the stuff that leaves the lights on your house.
Yeah, because you got to pay your bills.
And it's
the struggle bus is real.
Yeah.
Although none of our guests consider themselves writers, Little Rock is so small relative to the coastal population's notion of a city that their knowledge of what's here and who's doing it is based somewhat on villagistic bandies and rumors. I'm feeling a little nauseous, so let's just get this over.
I know that there is a little bit of a literary scene here. I see things pop up from time to time where there's like poetry readings and spoken word readings and stuff like that. But the art scene has kind of died down here in Arkansas. Like, it used to be huge. And, let me take that back.
We do know
it hasn't died down in Arkansas.
Talia just did a
It
huge...
just transferred from Little Rock to Fayetteville. Everything's
shit.
pretty much big and blowing up there. Like, even all the big venues and even all the big bands, they're coming through Fayetteville now. They're not even coming through Little Rock.
Wow.
And that's the dumbest. I went to a TED Talk here, and it was TEDx, and they talked about how they fucked our city, Little Rock, and our state. We moved. It was a little. We weren't as progressive as the rest of the people at the time, so we moved our university out of the capital city, up north, and I don't know whose idea it was at the time or who paid for that.
To Fayetteville or what?
To Fayetteville, yeah. So Fayetteville.
Are there more people there now than in Little Rock?
No. It's still about probably a third, I would say.
Oh, that's a lot less.
Here
if it's
is
a
like
third
about
than here,
300,000.
there was it's like 200, 250.
Yeah.
Like, if there's a third in Fayetteville, that's
Dude,
like where I grew up outside of Baltimore.
It's kind of like weird up there. Like, that's like Walmart headquarters. So there's like a Walmart ice cream shop.
Yeah, it's
a Walmart library.
There's a
Walmart dentist.
here and,
Like, it's like you're like in the Branch Davidian compound, but it's like the Walmart Davidian compound. Everywhere you go, it's the Walmart sushi store. Everything's like branched out in Walmart, and they've just got all the fucking money like flowing up there. So naturally, if that's where all the money is, that's where everything's going down.
Right.
So everything's like coming out of there right now, and the Razorbacks are up there. There's a bunch of schools up there, so I can't even blame them for like running business up there. But it's kind of lame that it's transferred out of Little Rock. But the one thing I can say about Little Rock is it's small enough It's big enough for you to still kind of get that city vibe if you wanted, but it's small enough to where if you want to be left alone and get some fucking work done, you can do that too.
I see.
Right.
Yeah.
There are things to do here, and people are, when people talk about boredom, like, oh, I'm so bored. Like, well, there are tools and resources here. Like,
you just got
for
to
me,
be
I'm
a little
like,
creative
I like
and not
to,
like expect things handed to you.
Yeah, I like to do pottery, but I don't have a studio. Well, I can go to the art studio, Arkansas Art Studio Center.
There's a lot of
The
things
art
around
center.
town too. There's
Pottery there.
a replica model of a Japanese internment
Lord.
camp
Internment camp, yeah.
that we had
sure,
here
sure.
in the 1940s.
Sure.
So if you want to learn about your liberal freedom and how much you
yeah.
really don't have it,
Right next to Big Whiskey's, there's a heritage center, and it's basically like you can go there, and everybody in the 2nd or 3rd grade went there and made candles, and got to see what it used to be like back in the day, walking around. And actually, they have an actual blacksmith there who pounds things out, and I like things that functional things. I
Dude,
like
we're known for blacksmithing.
pottery. And
All the Rambo knives are
blacksmithing.
from Arkansas.
So if I was going to do anything or learn anything, it would be
a practical skill.
blacksmithing right now.
Okay.
I love to, I'm enamored by Japanese culture and
can
their
you make
swords.
me a spoon?
I bet I could.
I'd like a killer cereal
bet I could.
spoon.
Contrary to the cliched existential progression, from youthful optimism to elder crotchetiness, so stereotypical of the South, Gangie provided the brightest outlook of our 3 groups of guests.
What do you think about like the arts and culture scene in here in Little Rock? I told you we're trying to start this community here.
I think it's a pretty good scene, pretty healthy. There are a lot of little pockets of, like the little theater thing downtown.
The Arkansas Art Center, yeah.
No, I mean the little place downtown where it's like a bar.
Oh, Weekend Theater? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Weekend
Weekend Theater.
And,
There's a lot of theaters, actually. Surprisingly,
Yeah.
the theater community here is pretty big. And a lot of, Ballet Arkansas and Festival Ballet.
I've
there's
never
a lot.
found that place.
There's a lot of places like that, but surprisingly, I will say, having lived here and being in the writing scene, the writing community outside of, my friends from, I went to the University of Arkansas at Little Rock for my 2nd bachelor's, got my English degree. Outside of that, I did not meet writers down here. I did not hang out with writers.
No, I remember when you had already gotten your feet in the sand writing, but Roy was thinking he wanted to write.
Here, Katie and Gangie are referring to Roy Rainey, Katie's younger brother, an actual working actor in LA and an extremely talented one at that. Our loyal listeners will remember that we had Katie's sister, Lizzie Castile, a graphic artist and web designer, on the last podcast. The art force is truly strong with this family.
He did? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he did. I wanted him to be able to speak to somebody, and I think I looked up writers in the Yellow Pages.
Oh, right.
And I found some guy in, I don't know, some little town in Arkansas, but somehow I found out that he was a decent writer. At least he'd made some money at it.
Charles Portis.
Who's that?
Oh, True Grit? Charles Portis?
Oh, okay. Yeah,
He's the big writer we have down here.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah.
He's a genuine recluse, is from what I understand. Although he would hang out at the bar that Myriah and I off Town Pump that we would hang out at. But I never saw him. There was rumored that he hung out there.
Boy, this was a rather gruff old man. And
Could be Charles
I said, what can I do to keep this boy's interest up or whatever? What should he be doing right now? And he said, writing. He just needs to write.
Oh, I love that. Just militant writer, crotch. I mean,
pretty
that's
true.
all fine to say, but also, I mean, you need having a community of supportive writers and going to readings and meeting other artists. It makes such a huge difference.
I think it helps you get better when you get some feedback.
Absolutely.
But he is right.
It's
It's pretty funny.
Yeah,
too.
we're both right.
I imagine him
No,
slamming the door on you and just
No, I was on the phone. I was on the phone with him, and and it was like, my God, woman, just tell him to write.
Aside from the fact that this story is just funny, to hear an esteemed author supply such a flippant answer to a grandmother who was merely looking for some artistic advice for her grandson is also indicative of unexamined barriers to creating and sustaining arts communities, challenges we're familiar with through our efforts to grow the reading series in New York. However, Arkansas faces challenges particular to this region, and we asked Myriah and Drew to elaborate on this as future hosts of the Salon here in Little Rock now. But you guys Katie is asking you guys to run the Little Rock Salon down here. Mm-hmm. And hopefully you guys have the time to do that. So I don't know, I guess, are you guys curious about what we're doing in New York? Are you excited to do it like in Little Rock? Do you think it's going to be a challenge? What do you guys think it's going to be like? I don't know. Just talk about what you guys think. We're kind of excited about what you guys want to do and how you see it.
It can be done. I feel like it might be a challenge because it's hard to get things together and done here.
The thing is, like, what y'all did in New York and are doing in New York is a challenge. Here is going to be a challenge as well, but it's just going to be a different challenge. Like, we have drastically less people. Mm-hmm. We are
that shocked me when I came here.
Drastically
such a
more
small
sprawled
city.
Out than y'all's millions of people in pretty much a small area.
Very small island. Yeah.
We have such a small fraction of that spread out, like 45 minutes in every direction.
Mm-hmm.
That's just we are like open road. So getting everyone who wants to get involved and active is going to be hard. I think we're just going to have to start smaller, but you got to start somewhere.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It will be a challenge, but I think it will be totally worth it.
Yeah, because we come at it from, like, obviously it's just literature, but, like, you're a musician. You like archaeology, and you kind of just like stuff and curious in general, Is there anything else besides just people coming up and reading or something? Like, would you guys like people playing music, or what else? What else are people interested in down here?
Well, I'm not technically in the literary. See, I don't write stories.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do anything like that. But I'm surprisingly surrounded by so many people who do. Yeah, and I read it, and I love it, and I support it. Mm-hmm. But I myself don't write it. Mm-hmm. But just recently, after you guys have been saying this, like, so many of my close friends have started to write things. Like, I've got this.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
They
got motivated.
I don't want to name people's names on the podcast, but just
we got to call
right
them
out of a corner.
Make them stick to it.
They're gonna have to come out and do their stuff, but it's kind of unique to see how, like, one person starts something and then I'm more socially aware that things are happening around me.
Right.
And I want them to get their voices out, and I want them to be known because I support it and I support them. Mm-hmm. And maybe I might not have anything to contribute that way, but I can at least get promoted and encourage.
Yeah, that's like the important thing is, like, talking about it.
Because I do scientific writing, and that's kind of boring.
There's a subtle significance to Myriah's waning words there, one lurking at the edges of all my conversations with folks down here. To dig deeper into this feeling of being unmoored or unsupported, I asked Marcus and Sam about what I perceived as a sort of surrender with regards to the arts and culture scene here. Is there, like, a kind of a lower point right now in art in Little Rock? Like, that's kind of, like, ready to kind of,
in this
like,
area,
be picked up,
I would.
You know what I mean?
I don't know if it's about to surge again, but for a little while, it was trying to compete with, like, the Austin scene. Like, we would have, like, artists
and I could
putting,
see that, to be honest.
We would put, like, artists putting up, like, random, like, exhibits, and there was, like, a big presence, and there were a lot of venues, and
we've been dubbed Little Austin. So
yeah.
I mean, if you
we
go
were
around,
dubbed
which is
Little
fitting,
Austin.
right? And also because I know Katie was a big player in like the kind of the musical theater scene, like with the youth getting into, like, what was it called? To chime in right here, what was it called? The Arkansas Arts Center. There it is. There it is. Those are the two words.
They just had a really nice
Arkansas
exhibit there.
Art Center.
They had the Mueller exhibit there. I can't remember his first name. Martin Mueller, that's his name. He's a famous collector, and they put his collection on display, and it was like 100-some pieces of, like, really high-end, collections, like ranging from, like, Andy Warhol to, like, Picasso. Like,
well, so they pulled some serious shit.
Yeah. Well, it's just this guy. Like, he has a major collection that he's been collecting
and he
over
just
the years.
Brought it here.
And he tours it to exhibits, not only for himself to enjoy, but for other people to enjoy, because they're classic works for some great people, and he's got the funding to do it. Little backstory on Martin Mueller: he was a immigrant from Switzerland, I believe, and he came here with nothing, and with his own, like, willpower and wanting to succeed and do something better with his life, he, invested in some great things and came up with a lot of money, which I believe is the only way to get a lot of money. You have to be willing to do something to contribute back to society. Some people don't handle it very well when they get their money and they take advantage of people. But when you have like great plans and you want to do big things, money just kind of like, I don't know what's the right word.
Right,
it's like
circulates.
It circulates into your possession,
and we don't
so you can
spend
do bigger
money.
things.
I've just learned that none of us spend money. We're never going to say that again. That means it leaves your life. You never see it again. We circulate money.
Yeah.
Okay, and it comes
because it's
back
a currency.
Okay.
It's a
Okay.
tool
With
for you to
interest.
use.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
and it's about my Zig Ziglar. He was a motivational speaker, and he said, money is like oxygen. When you need it, you really need it. I mean, that those tires will fall off your car. Those
Absolutely.
brakes will give out. That engine will too. I mean, like, things happen in your life, and
Oh,
so
it definitely is.
and so that's c'est la vie. That's part of life.
Again, while our other guests were apprehensive about the future of arts and culture in Little Rock, Gangie on the whole was optimistic, as if words such as implausible or impossible have never entered her vocabulary, which is where Katie gets her unflagging determination. When confronted with an obstacle, rather than find a solution, Gangie seems to batter the impasse into utter obliteration.
Now, like at the art center, they don't do any classes in writing.
I mean, they may now. They didn't when I was there.
Well, you ought to go down there and check that out. Push them a bit.
See, it's hard. I will say it's hard with me up in New York. Like I've been trying to help set this up down here, and you really just like even my friends, Myriah and Drew, who are very willing to do this with us, have already said like, we don't know. The community's just not as strong down here. Like you might get friends to show up for the first one. So how do you really get people interested and engaged? And that's kind of what we're working on.
Well, I don't mind going to the art center and talking to the people whose names I cannot recall right now.
That's step one.
All right, listen, Arkansas. You know what you used to call it, the Arkansas Fart Center. We love the
Artsy
art
fartsy.
center, but it was funny. Yeah. Arkansas Art Center, watch out, Gangie's coming for you.
Well, they used me after you left. They liked the way I raised money.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's where you get it from. She does that for her job all the time.
Well, it's just you just got to ask for it.
Basically.
But they had me calling on the big corporations, going to the directors' meetings and all that. And gosh, I can't even remember now. But it was for the art center to try to get money because they've dropped so much of the stuff out of the schools now.
Yeah, that's well, in
It's pathetic.
So the place where I work up in New York is called Community Word Project. It's a nonprofit, and we send teachers into the schools through our nonprofits. And those organizations, arts education organizations, have risen because of that. What you're talking about right there, because they keep cutting arts programs from schools.
Oh yeah, it's pathetic.
But New York really fought back in that, and like a lot of people started nonprofits, but you're just not seeing that down here yet. And I think that's a real thing to think about. Like, how could we do that down here too?
Not to generalize Arkansans, but the majority of my conversations were attended by a palpable, if subtle, sense of insecurity. No matter how long they've been painting or playing music or writing or crafting, they never considered themselves an authority on the matter. As if art is above their station, reserved for those living in New York or Paris or any singularities for Western culture and intellectualism. But yeah, so our producer just signed to me that you paint as well.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah, I paint. Nothing amazing.
Very
it's not
bashful about it.
I am bashful.
Myriah discredits herself. She's talented in many ways. We commissioned her to create a piece for our website. All too often I sense this. People downplaying or belittling their skill and intelligence. It seems to me that when you lose arts and culture, you lose something of yourself. On our last podcast, Sean Castile, co-owner of Via Design and Development, brought up a good point. He said, "How can you have a literary culture here when there is a literacy problem?" Superimposing the question onto this episode, the question then becomes, how can we grow arts and culture here when its potential constituency has lost belief in themselves and their own creativity? How do you champion those without a league to play in?
So when I thought about this podcast, and I was very intimidated the first night that I was even like, oh my God, there could be a podcast. And I was like, everybody gets in their head, and we got to remember that everybody gets in their head and
right.
nails themselves to the wall a lot of times, like just so hard, like, you don't have anything worthy to say. Like, how can you talk about art,
Sure.
But I've taken art classes my whole life. My favorite thing,
Which is all that
my
matters.
favorite
You're into it.
version of, like, if we're talking about actual, like, it's not interpretive dance, but I do love to dance, and there's an art in dance. There's the martial arts, and I would love to be a martial artist. But when we're talking about physical, tangible art, things you can put your hands on or visualize and see, is pottery. Like, I almost made a shirt while I was in my pottery class because I had electives. So I used those electives for art. I took theater, judo, and pottery. I tried to take painting, but I realized that I had a twisted ankle, and I came in on crutches, and the teacher was like, I just don't think you're getting this. And I was like,
I got my armpits
dude.
full.
Like, yeah, I'm taking this as an elective. But he was such an asshole to me that I might just never know how great of a fucking painter I am because I didn't take the goddamn class in painting.
With the crutches.
So that led me to theater, and I walked my ass with the crutches out of that class and was like, fuck this guy, fuck this teacher.
That's the attitude you gotta have.
And I was like, I'm going to go for something else that I want to do, and that's theater. And so, but if we're talking about actual tangible things, it's pottery. And so I made my first teapot, was made from the very first piece of clay that we didn't even know we were making a teapot. Did you know that? He said, we made a pinch pot, okay, which is where you take a clay, you stick your thumb in the very middle of it, a big lump of clay, kind of like shit.
I got a question for you, though. So does that make you think of someone blocking access to you to, like, learning something when you were on those crutches? And, like, because, for example, I've said this many times, we're trying to get an inclusive community involved in, like, writing and stuff like that, which is, I'm curious about that in Arkansas in general, but essentially, we want to avoid those situations, even though that's like your personal situation when you walked in on crutches. It's very specific, but it's kind of a microcosm of what's going on.
Yeah.
It's like you said, art's a weird thing. You can, a lot of people say you can't grade it. You can't say how good it is. Like, everything's art. Whatever.
Yeah, you can.
Obviously, we can to a certain degree. But at the same time, you walk in with crutches and someone tells you can't paint.
And
That's
we
a little
weren't even
unfair,
painting.
right?
We were sketching, and it was like, he's like, I just don't think you're getting it.
So my question is,
he kind of bullied me in a way because he knew that I was probably not an artist by just my sheer lack of skill at the time sketching, because I don't practice that. Marcus,
I honestly have to say that I think you do have artistic skills, Sam, because, like,
yes, absolutely.
I look at, like, Asian culture, like, the Japanese turn every fucking thing into an art form. So it's not about actual art. It's about your ability to concentrate on something that you really want to do and your love for it, and to make it the best that it possibly can be. And I've seen you do that with things in your life, especially like your career and things that you take seriously. So that's art in itself, and I believe that you have the ability to do it.
And again, here, take Marcus. He didn't reveal his talent's reach until prompted. But in fact, he's an incredible painter, tattoo artist, and musician.
Marcus is recording an album right now with his 3 bandmates. And
you play music too?
Yeah. So
I'll play some
I know
later.
you play guitar, but I didn't know you played, like, you were
he's in a band, and
like
he
that,
goes to band practice. Like,
Sam's come out to practice,
and I've come out to the practice.
Well, what's the name?
The band name is Necrosomnium, which translates
holy shit! I've never even
dead
knew that.
sleep.
Dead asleep. Yeah.
Necrosomnia.
Which is
Look
pretty
at
much
my Latin. Look at my fucking Latin.
yeah.
Good job. Yeah.
The fucking lick of Latin. It's just literally looking shit up in the dictionary.
But
you know
it basically
Hard work
translates to
pays
dead
off.
asleep, which is pretty much the state of everybody since forever. Everybody's
At
dead
some
asleep.
time, we'll be dead
And
asleep.
the album is a concept album. It's 7 songs. 6 of the songs are 7 minutes long.
Is it metal?
And one song is 14 minutes long.
It's
It's metal.
Metal-ish.
Yeah.
It's like
That's what I
Metalish.
figured.
but it's old school too. So there's
just on
like
it right
No,
there's touches of thrash. There's touches of like classic Zeppelin. There's touches of like Metallica. There's
love
touches of like
Yeah.
modern like metal. But then there's touches of rock. And it's no screaming. It's all singing.
Yeah.
All of these challenges that our guests brought up make me ask one very obvious, yet more so, very important question. So I have a good, like, close-ended question that we can end on.
Yeah.
So you guys both have to answer definitively, though. So you guys obviously want Little Rock to prosper. You're from
Yeah.
here. But would you rather... Ooh, how do I phrase this? I'm trying to ask, would you guys rather stick around and see it out or get out of here?
Oh, I'm moving a
Absolutely not.
heartbeat.
Yeah, I want to get the fuck out of here.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. But when pressed for non-closed answers, the outlook wasn't quite so grim. So you guys aren't leaving.
So, okay.
Well, what do
Sorry
you
to
do-
talk
what do you
about
do then?
Arkansas not growing.
If you guys
It
aren't-
is.
yeah.
Things are getting better. Like Little Rock downtown is actually growing. We'll go on a positive note real quick. We'll
And there are
backtrack.
reading series.
We're gonna have a
and there
real
are-
conversation
We've got-
about it, but
We do have a lot of things going on downtown. A lot of places where they weren't businesses, there are now. And new things are coming up. We got this, just recently in a few years, we got this rooftop bar. We've got a bowling alley for adults only. So we have bands that play. There's like art shows. There's people who are tumbling. You get a lot of mullets.
would you like to expand on tumbling?
People tumble. I don't know.
What? They're just like rolling on the
They
ground?
just roll around. They like hula
Oh my
hoop.
God.
Who knows what's going on at
I don't.
Riverbend?
I
got
I
exactly
certainly
what I
don't.
wanted out of that to expand on.
I thought it was.
I just wanted a little
Can you
bit
not?
more.
I just wish you could zoom into my head and see the imagery. So that's what it is.
I think I am seeing it right now, and I very much
It's
appreciate
beautiful.
it.
Tumbling is an arcane form of physical expression taken up at Riverfest, Little Rock's annual music festival, which has been rocking the Arkansas River for 40 years now and running. As a kid, Katie and her friends would attend if only to smoke cigarettes, steal beers, and go mullet hunting. A still more arcane form of expression, though idiomatic even to this northerner's ear, with disposable cameras. Anyway, back to Arkansas's art scene and the importance of bolstering the community as a means for supporting individual artists. Gangie's take, ever optimistic, sums the tangible effects of an arts community, beginning with its impact on youth and education.
I just think the more art, regardless of what kind it is, acting, singing, dancing, writing, the more you can put that into the hands of children or the underprivileged, the better the world's going to be. It's just going to be better. It's just better. And I think everybody should read Eudora Welty.
Dora Welty. Okay.
Do you still have? I think I gave you my book.
I'll have to look.
She's a Southern writer. Best names. Oh, she could name her her characters.
Katie, have you read her yet?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And what's the name of the woman that wrote To Kill a Mockingbird? Now that's one of my favorites.
Harper Lee.
Harper Lee, yeah.
Did you read the new one? The sequel or the
No,
was it the
I haven't.
prequel or sequel that they they published after her death?
But is it actually a sequel? I thought it was just another book.
No, it's related to Kill a Mockingbird. What is it? Go set up Watchmen? Is that what it is? I can't remember.
Oh,
I have not read it. But yeah. Oh,
All
we'll have to find it for you.
yeah.
Naturally, our guests had questions for us about why we want to start a salon in Little Rock and help amplify Little Rock's artistic community.
What you guys are doing, and it's like I've thought about this. Like, what do we do? Because this world is really dark, and art actually really expresses a lot of that.
dark in here.
And
It's dark.
you know this,
I don't think it's darker
this
than it used to be.
dystopia that we're in.
It's definitely not as
you
dark
know?
as the 1700s.
So it's certainly not.
I agree. I agree.
But you know,
Serial
as
killer
far as
Cyril.
this podcast goes and what you guys are all about, can you tell me a little bit about that? Like, what's your focus? Like,
Well, this
what
was
do
kind
you-
of, yeah.
what is your like? Because we were talking about that, and I was talking about how I respect you guys, but I want y'all to really like bullseye like what y'all's focus is.
The podcast actually is, I mean,
For someone who doesn't know and just might have heard this episode, like, what is y'all's goal?
Well, especially because the first 2 episodes we had the familiar crew.
Right.
That, like, we knew everyone. You know, obviously it was our first 2 episodes. No one else did. There was kind of like a chemistry between all of us. It's more about just learning and, like, figuring things out as we're online here, you know?
Okay.
Because it's a subsidiary to our press, you know?
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know if there's much more I can put into that because, like, it's so open-ended.
I remember,
you know what I mean?
I remember
the
producer saying that it was something like trying to get an expression, or I don't know if it was exactly from the producer, but it's more like trying to get attention to art and community and how things.
Yeah, no. Our producers are saying
circle.
Sam is saying everything that we need to say right now.
And what y'all are doing right now is bringing attention to something that I think gets heavily overlooked. There was this, I saw it on Netflix, and it was, or on YouTube, and it was, okay, we're talking about art, so it was a comic book brought to life in a movie, okay? And it was Clark Kent, if Clark Kent landed in Russia rather than America. And so at the end of that movie, where they had gone, because Superman's essentially like a god, you know, and that culture group, it's a really interesting movie, and I think that y'all should look into that. But what they focused on at their precipice, at their pinnacle, like, was art and literature, and how they translated that into society, because everybody needs to express themselves. And a best way to do it is in art. Like, that's where singers get their therapy. I mean, art is therapy.
It's so funny that you mentioned that, because I was talking about that with you last night, I think. And we were saying how, like, art is pretty much like the last frontier of modern education, where it teaches people what your feelings are and what emotions are.
Yeah, something we try to shut out.
You can, like, translate them and control them and, like, not be controlled by them.
Rather than conforming to what you need to do to survive.
Because, like, you know, math and science and social studies and all those other things, they're not going to teach you about your emotions and, like, what...
Yeah,
I mean, you might have emotions arise from, like, reading certain things, but art teaches you, like, what exactly it is and what it's supposed to be doing and how you can, like, use it to benefit you.
Absolutely.
And it's such a sad state of affairs that they're trying to, like, constantly get it out of school.
Yeah,
it's like one of the most important things.
When you think about it, who builds the schools? The same people who build prisons.
Oh,
we are not.
That's like another hour-long conversation when we're talking about that level of capitalism.
You know, we're gonna get into that at some point. I mean, we're doing a two-parter on kind of like prisons and prison reform and stuff like that.
Oh my God, it's a business. Have y'all seen Adam Ruins Everything?
Yeah, we have.
Oh, it's great.
Katie's
include me in that.
Yeah.
The only thing that I have left to say as far as art and literacy, I heard a wise man once say that you never really learn how illiterate you are until you read a really good book.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And that resonated with me so profoundly, because even when you read it
I just got half chub right there.
Even when you read it a second time, when you read the same book the second time, you're like, fuck. It's like watching a movie for the second time. You're like, I didn't see any of that. Like, you read things, and I really have to strongly stress that nothing will teach you the things that you need to learn in life.
Let me tell you
better
something.
than a book. You can listen.
This kind of I'm sorry. I have to say this. I have to say this. Like, if you've ever you'll never see a more practical example of that than when you watch the movie Cloud Atlas and read the book Cloud Atlas.
Yeah.
You go from a cinematic kind of almost Hollywoodified experience into reading a book that is actually maybe my favorite book I've ever read in my life.
Holy shit.
Mine is Dune.
Dune.
Yeah.
Oh, I read that. Man, I read that.
When you read that and then you watch the movie,
ago.
like, it's pretty similar, but then, like, the book goes into more of a political kind of stance on it, and, like, shows like how it's almost like a projection of the future of how things would be. And then the movie is like, Hollywooded it the fuck out. But
I agree with you totally. I mean,
you never really
you never know how much you are inferring about your surroundings and your environment and your own thoughts until you actually read a book where you can do it from someone else's words. And that's why literature is so fucking important.
It also lets you know where your vocabulary level is at. Like,
for sure.
When you read a new book and all that new information isn't put in, you're like, what the fuck did I just read? Like, what happened?
Read you some Hamlet, bitch.
I feel bad about that sometimes. We learned so much on our trip to Arkansas. That Little Rock is sprawling and welcome and wanting and naturally abundant all at once. For us, it's the perfect place to set up an artist salon. A place that could use a community as conduit to both expressing themselves and finding collective meaning in the process. But also, it's a place already sprouting with radicals for a thriving artistic community. What with the theaters, the music scene, and the local talent we talked about in this podcast, Little Rock is merely a bud waiting to pop and thrust forth into the sunlight. Gangie's advice reflects what we strive to do and the reason we're here in Arkansas, building the foundation for what we are confident will be a thriving arts community.
Is there anything we need to know going forward in our press that you think? Because, you set me this way.
Just, I would have to just say, keep it real. Be so open and so honest. Don't ever try to impress somebody that you're trying to get on the train, Just be open and honest and work your tails off.
I like that.
We do.
I like that a lot. That's definitely something you don't always get in the publishing industry, or a lot of them.
Yeah. No, just truly, I just think the best way to do anything is very openly, very honestly. People like to say, well, you have no filter. I know, I don't.
You're in good company.
But, who needs a filter? Maybe some of this stuff that comes out of me might do some good.
I think maybe 45 needs a filter.
Yeah, there was a popular hip-hop song about 10 years ago or so that was called Blame It on the Alcohol. We can just blame it on the eggnog. Maybe that's what we call this one. We're just pounding eggnog here in front of a makeshift Christmas tree that Katie made out of books.
Yes. That's our decorations this year.
Merry Christmas.
Okay, that's it for today's episode. If you like what you heard, please subscribe and review on whichever platform you're listening. You can get in touch with us on Twitter at Animal Riot Press or Facebook and Instagram at the same name, or through our website, animalriotpress.com. This has been the 5th episode of the Animal Riot Podcast with your host, Brian Birnbaum, and featuring Suzanne Watts, a.k.a. Gangie, Drew Wilkerson, Myriah Harrison, Marcus Fisher, and Sam Cooper. Transcripts for our deaf and hard of hearing animals are provided by Jonathan Kay, and we are produced by me, Katie Rainey. See you later, you filthy animals.
Very good, very good.
Yes, sir, it's the burn. Bombing on y'all and getting gully as the fern. I don't know much about Lee.